I would call this meeting to order. We're going to skip on the agenda and go straight to Bill 2527, solar decommissioning. I'm going to recognize Samuel. He's the Director of Government Affairs for Silicon Ranch Corporation. Just press that button on your mic and it'll light up green. And
thank you, Mr. Chairman. As the chairman said, my name is Samuel. I'm the Director of Policy and Government Affairs for a company called Silicon Ranch based in Tennessee. I want to thank the chairman for his leadership in bringing this bill forward. I know you guys are very busy, so I'll try to be as brief as I can. Silicon Ranch has been doing business in Mississippi since 2014. We commissioned the first utility scale solar project in the state in Chickasaw County in Okolona. And since then, it's been an absolute privilege to do business here. This bill is intended to function as a landowner-centric consumer protection measure. One of the ways that Silicon Ranch departs from sort of the industry standard practices is that we, as a standard practice, own our land underneath our projects. And even rarer, but equally important, we've never sold a project. And so I want to thank you again for bringing this bill forward, and it resembles the measures on solar decommissioning taken in other states, neighboring states like Tennessee, Arkansas, Texas, and Georgia, that are also grounded in that recognition that no party has a greater interest in the stewardship, reclamation, and long-term value of private land than the landowner themselves. And so while leasehold solar development, like many other leasehold arrangements, presents legitimate risks, those risks are borne overwhelmingly by the landowner and pale in comparison as it relates to any other party. And so this bill is really meant to perform four core functions. One is that it establishes a clear statewide baseline requirement that landowners and the public can rely on. Two, preserve freedom of contract, allowing landowners to waive some requirements and tailor certain requirements through private negotiations to benefit their own unique circumstances. But of course, many of the provisions cannot be waived or it wouldn't be a true consumer protection measure. And then three, preempt duplicative local requirements, avoiding a patchwork of conflicting and additive ordinances that would maybe underline the landowner's autonomy. And finally, it's meant to protect the collective reputation of the solar industry by preventing bad actors from externalizing reclamation costs onto maybe unsuspecting landowners. And so it really just establishes baseline rights for landowners in these lease agreements, and otherwise it establishes baseline obligations for lessee solar developers.
Mike, y'all heard the explanation of the bill. Any questions from the committee? Seeing none, or motion? Y'all heard the motion, vote sufficient to pass. All those in favor? All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, we'll go back to the top of the agenda. Let's see, 2058. I'm going to just go ahead and briefly explain what changes we made to this Gulf Coast Regional Utility Act. In Section 1.8 confirms the authority to operate systems, but may not duplicate service in areas already certificated, and PSA may be in conflict with these powers. You look at Section 1.9, it's a first right of refusal. This is new language, creates an exclusive right of refusal in uncertificated areas with the service area. This is required 90 days to elect service. If elected, no other provider may serve. Section 110, unauthorized service prohibited. That's a new section as well. There's any provider from serving inside the county's authority service area without written consent from the authority in compliance with the PSC requirements. Section 111, penalties and enforcement. This is also new. It adds enforceable tools up to $500 a day in civil penalties, injunction relief, recovery of attorney's fees and costs, and standing to file lawsuit. Section 112 and 13, it states that these powers are supplemental, intended to prevent duplication, protect public investment, and promote coordinated planning. Section 2, legislative intent. This is new. It states the legislator's purpose to promote coordinated reliable service, prevent duplicate infrastructure, protect public investment and ratepayers, support orderly growth and planning, safeguard public health and real welfare, establish right of first refusal, and robust remedies for violations. So we've run into some issues. I can just say Stone County specifically, where you've got a separate utility services from the sewer bill, and currently the way the is written, the sewage company cannot cut off the sewer, so they're not getting paid. So this has been an ongoing issue that we decided to address. I'll be happy to entertain any questions. Seeing none, for a motion.
All sufficient due
The
pass.
committee's,
Yeah.
all right, I moved to adopt the committee sub. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Now for your motion.
Motion is all sufficient due pass, committee sub.
Motion, you've heard the motion. All those in favor? All those opposed? All right, we will move forward with that one. All right, the next one is a Consumer Freedom of Choice Act. If y'all remember, we passed a bill basically addressing municipalities banning gas utilities such as gas, natural gas stoves. What this does is this just adds the tools and farm equipment gas powered. So municipalities can't have regulation banning these types of equipment. I'd be happy to entertain any questions. Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion. Motion's tossed to issue passed. All those in favor? Opposed? All right, 2308, energy efficient standards. This is a repeal, and all it does is extend the repealer in this code section on building house standards. Very simple bill. Any questions? Extends the repealer, yeah. This is yeah. Seeing none, formation. Title sufficient need pass is the motion. All those in favor? Opposed? That bill will be approved. Senate Bill 2309. This is another, had two different code sections to address the issue with the Gulf Coast Regional Utility Act. Section V of this bill, it adds the bolded portion, but in the bill it adds the Mississippi Public Service. I can't even talk. The Mississippi Public Service Commission shall affect no ruling, promulgation, finding, or decision that interferes with or conflicts with the powers authority granted to the county under this act. The legislative intent is promote coordinated reliable service, prevent duplicate infrastructure, protect public investment and ratepayers, and support the growth and any questions? This is a committee sub as well, I believe. I need to move to adopt the committee sub.
Adopt the committee sub.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor? Opposed? All right, now we're on committee sub. I'll understand the motion.
All sufficient due pass, committee sub.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor? Opposed? All right, that bill will be good. Senate Bill 2310. To explain.
Thank you, Mr. Sheriff, and I appreciate it. As y'all may remember, I believe last year we passed a bill where you had municipal utilities that had areas that extended outside the city limits. We empowered the PSC to have the ability to revoke that certificate. We had some concerns with some cities that weren't doing proper service. The only thing we're doing here is we're adding water districts to that. That's it. Lines 13 and 14, it says, current language says municipality owned or operated electric utility, I'm sorry, adding water system. That's it. I'll yield the questions. If you look at it on lines 14, 13, 14 is where we're at. The current language says municipality, municipally owned or operated electric utility, which is what we did last year. We are adding water system.
On the first page.
2013, right?
Yeah.
I thought it was a simple bill. You've had a long week, brother.
Senator McMahon has a question.
Okay, I see it. It's operated.
Okay. We're good there?
Yeah,
Okay.
there it is.
All right. All right. Any more questions from the committee?
Title sufficient, do pass.
Motion is title sufficient to pass. All those in favor? All those opposed? All right, that bill will be reported. All right, Senate Bill 2311, the Community Infrastructure Sustainability Act. Okay, what this does, it creates a statewide accountability framework, assigning an A through F letter grade, require an annual public report online and customer notice within 30 days. It begins publishing annual grades by January 1, 2028. It's effective July 1st of 2026. Requires Mississippi Department of Health to create and adopt rules with objective point values to ensure equal and fair assessments. Much of this information is already collected, so it shouldn't require any additional full-time employees for the Department of Health. The reason why it's needed, identify the failing water systems. I think you all have seen this throughout the state, trying to get this under control. That was the reason we had those Senate hearings in September. I'll be happy to entertain any questions.
Title sufficient.
Seeing none, title sufficient do pass as a motion. All those in favor? Opposed? All right, that bill will be reported. It's Senate Bill 2312, wastewater treatment system infrastructure sustainability act. This is the same structure as the bill we just passed. It deals with sewer instead of drinking water. So it does the same thing. You get a A through F grade, same publishing, requires an annual. Again, this information is already collected, so it shouldn't require any additional full-time employees at MDEQ. And both of these is small legislation after what Louisiana has enacted in 2021. Again, we've got to have a grading system to find out what situation sewer systems are currently in. Be happy to entertain any questions.
Motion is title sufficient to pass.
Title sufficient to pass. All those in favor? Opposed? All right. Senate Bill 2526, recognize Senator Williams to explain.
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. As y'all probably recall, I think it was October, we had some hearings on rural water, and this legislation comes as a result of that. Over the last 3 months, I've spent a lot of time along with the chairman and others talking to different stakeholders. It's come to our attention that we've got about 1,200 water associations throughout the state, and by and large, most of them do a really good job. But we've got some issues with them. I call them the outliers that are out there. And what we're going to do with this piece of legislation is create what's called the Mississippi Rural Water Oversight Committee. It'll be made up. We've got the members of that committee, and I'm glad to get as detailed as you want. I'm going to try to do an overview of this meeting, but I can go as deep as you want. We've got members that are made up of that. What they're basically going to do is take a look at these outliers, the people that are having issues. One of the three things that this committee will be required to put on all water associations is every 5 years there'll have to be a rate study. There'll also be a capacity study of the water associations. Many areas in our state, fortunately, are experiencing economic development, economic growth, but water is one of the core features, and we've got a lot of associations that really haven't been forward thinking. There's also an asset management plan that will be required. That's something EPA has some guidelines. We did not put those in here specifically, but they've got guidelines that will allow you to assess the assets of the association to see if you're in a good place. Reason for that, we've got a lot of associations that are not investing in infrastructure as they need to, We've got wells, we've got lines, we've got things that have been out there since the sixties with minimal maintenance. So that being the case, we need to make sure that we're up to date, that we're used to having water there. I have worked with the Rural Water Association leadership there, talked to dozens of people that are in leaders, different people that are people in this industry. They don't have any problem with this because they're already doing this. A lot of this stuff's already in regulations in the health department. We're codifying it to kind of put it in bold and talk about it. I spent about an hour and a half with Dr. Eddie in the health department and his water people last week. They are in favor of the legislation as well. Another piece of this legislation is we're giving the committee the ability to hire 3 people based upon funding to go around and help these associations do this. We've got a lot of associations that are being run that really don't know what they're doing. We've got people get on the board. They're supposed to have educational requirements. They may not have them. So we're going to try to stand that up. The state has the SRF, the State Revolving Fund, if I'm saying it right, that has, I believe, close to $100 million in it. And talking to Dr. Eddie last week, his people are working on kind of a breakdown of the money that goes in, the money that goes out, what's available, the criteria that you've got to meet. This thing has kind of swollen up the last 4 or 5 years because instead of using the funds here to help rural water associations, we've been using the ARPA money. As everybody's aware, that money will come to an end at the end of this year. And in a good time, we've had an ice storm. We're probably going to be having a request for generators and things that were inadequate in associations as we see that. So this fund will have a mechanism as we see, as this committee goes around and hopefully flushes out where we've got the problem associations, there'll be funds that will be available for that. I think that's a high level view. If anybody has any specific questions, I'll be glad to answer them, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, so under the revolving loan fund, they've got the SRF loans. That's what you were talking about.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
So they've got $100 million sitting there, low interest loans that the various water associations can apply to for capital expense to upgrades on their system. They're various different things. But I appreciate your work on this. Any questions from the community?
This is a committee sub before us.
Right. All right, seeing none, permission?
Adopt committee sub?
Yep. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No, on committee sub.
Title sufficient, do pass committee sub.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that bill will be reported. Right, so Senator Michelle is out today, so you left me the president. We have the Metro Jackson Water Authority Act. And so I'm going to do my best to go through this. So we all know that some issues still, federal government did somewhat of a good job when they came in, but there are still different things that need to be addressed. And actually, Mayor Horton, former colleagues, asked for this piece of legislation. I'll just go over it bullet point. Establishes Metro Jackson Water Authority. Enacts legislation for the creation of authority. Authorize the lease of system assets from the city. Include authorization for the authority to issue special revenue bonds to pay off outstanding legacy system debt. The new issuance will be secured by another revenue stream until the system can stabilize. Refinancing the existing system debt with non-system bond proceeds will allow the authority to immediately recognize significant expense reductions. It allows for transition from party manager to authority. Authority will be contractually responsible for management and control of the system. City retains ownership of the system assets under the lease structure and can financially share in the future success of the system through rental payments from surplus annual revenues. Lease will be required to remain in effect so long as the authority bonds remain outstanding. Lease term extensions required for additional bond issuances that extend beyond final maturity of outstanding bonds. Authority should be favorably received by the bond market and rating agencies. Include strong debt issuance provisions and limited ability to borrow for working capital. Provide one or more supplemental resources to be used to secure the authority refinancing bonds and support the system. The existing city debt for the system revenue bonds will allow authority to initially focus on restoring system revenues sufficient to pay operating costs. They need a proven reliable source of recurring revenues. Surplus supplemental revenues could be used to support annual system expenses and or pay down Turbo, the authority refinancing bonds. Using supplemental revenue sources to pay the refinancing bonds can be expected to eliminate concerns over current system operations or revenues, eliminate existing annual debt service of system to potentially reduce rate increases, preserve ability of authority to issue future system revenue bonds. There's two possible existing sources of supplemental revenues: city sanitation fees, city to dedicate a specified dollar amount of its sanitation fees, existing 1% sales, special sales tax, state legislation to extend the repeal of the current legislation and expand use of such sales tax revenues to repay authority refinancing bonds. So essentially, they're creating an authority, but the assets will still be owned by the city. And like I said, lease payments will be made once it becomes financially solvent. We have any questions from the committee? Senator Williams.
Do you know if any state general fund money will be used for this?
Still not knowledge there will not be any general fund money.
Thank you.
This is requested by Mayor Horn. I tried to get him to author it.
Too late.
Any other questions from the committee? Wait.
Motion is title sufficient do pass.
All those in favor? All those opposed? All right, that one's gonna be reported. All right. 2641. All right, this is Senator Whaley's bill, but since he's had a rough time, I'm gonna help him out on this one. So we've been talking about wind bills. Arkansas and Louisiana have passed legislation basically similar to this from study committees. This, when it comes down to migration birds and how the winds affect migration. What this bill does, it forms a study committee. And I can read out the whole committee if you'd like, or you can just check out those, the first 2 pages. Do what? What the, oh yeah, I'm sorry, y'all, we're on a committee sub. We're not on the original bill. I stripped the original bill down to a study committee. I got 3 bills in my folder. So we stripped it down just a study committee, and then what we did was we grandfathered in existing projects, and then we put a moratorium on new construction of wind facilities until the study committee reports to this committee. And that's what the committee sub does. It's the 2 pages that you've got. Just see the moratorium 55 through 60. And actually it goes on down through 67.
Where are we following?
So towards the beginning of the bill. Yeah. It is it's on 58, shall not apply to certificates for wind tower facilities issued prior to the effective date of this act. That's your,
Do we have any, I'm sorry,
go ahead.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Do we have any solar, wind projects right now that we have memorandums of understanding with government entities? In other words, are there anything already has been negotiated with cities or counties?
Yeah, there's current projects under construction right now. So that's why we grandfathered them in. We're gonna penalize someone that's already gone through the process, and
Only these 2 or any?
anything that's currently in production right now.
Thank
you. Other questions from the committee? We can adopt the committee sub.
Move to adopt the committee sub.
All right, yeah, the motion, all those in favor? Opposed? All right, now we're back on the committee sub.
Sufficient do pass committee sub.
You've heard the motion, all those in favor? Opposed? All right, that bill will be moved out. All right, Senate Bill 2783, and I'm recommend Kyle Brown to explain that bill.
Sorry. Apologies on behalf of Director Doty. I'm far less attractive and far less articulate than she is. But if y'all didn't know, her sister actually passed away yesterday morning. And so she just wanted me to come over and give you kind of a brief highlight of 2783. And I think she has spoken to Chairman Carter, Senator Williams about this. What this does is it makes two targeted definition changes for programs other than those funding services to retail end users. And I believe we've been working with, some of our internet service providers to define what retail end users are. The bill also clarifies what the definition of an applicant and an eligible project is, because ultimately the $1.2 billion that Beam received from the federal government, when we are complete with these projects in the next 3 to 4 years, every home will be served in the state of Mississippi, and we will have about $600 million left. And so what this bill does is it allows us to continue to do grant programs that can fund other programs and other initiatives for the state.
So I know that there are going to be federal regs come down after this access money ultimately is going to go back to the federal government.
Correct.
And then it'll be redistributed with how much we're going to get. But
Correct.
my understanding is that it could be used for the AI workforce training,
Yes, sir.
correct?
Yes, sir. We actually have a state listening session on February 10th, and then there's actually a provider interested parties conference call with the federal government on the 11th, and then the guidance we expect to be coming in about the second week of March. So it's one of those, we don't know what the program outlines are going to be, what guidelines are going to be. And so we're just asking for the ability to continue not just only working on internet across the state, but also working on those other AI initiatives and things like that.
All right. Any questions from the committee? Do I have a motion? You've heard the motion, title sufficiently passed. All those in favor? Opposed? All right, that bill will be reported out. All right, the last one, agenda is 2787. And this is, if y'all recall, we passed a bill requiring natural gas testing in the schools. What this bill does is it adds propane to the statute. I had a question myself. Response. I was asking if this was requiring additional funds or anything like that. And what I was told was that currently a propane dealer who wins the school bid performs the leak checks. Propane dealers pay for their time. This is how they do it. The state liquid compressed gas board inspector does walk through and oversees the leak check at no charge. And at the state LC gas board is under the state fire marshal's office. So that was one question I had, because I know it's the natural gas service question on funding, which we had an energy provider set up a fund to help the Department of Education. She's going to be handling this as well. So I'll be happy to entertain any questions.
Motion is title sufficiently passed.
Motion, all those in favor? Just that other motion? All those in favor?
Strong motions, Chuck. Strong motions. Good job.
Just ran through.
Good job.